Ooh, I have a snack here. See if I can change the game. Ooh, nice. It's already done for me. Let's go. Yo, what's up, Brighton? You want to play some Smash? Oh, got too many things in front of me. All right. So here's the question, boys. Do you guys want to listen to what I'm... Actually, I guess I can just put the small media monitor back on. There we go.
I like to shoot spitballs and throw tomatoes at from time to time because he is a jaw-droppingly embarrassing specimen of pure cringe that it is impossible to fight the urge to clown on him. Yet, whenever I do, and whenever anyone mentions Elon in a less than flattering way, you will have the most unlovable Cro-Magnon swarm you, dogpiling like it's World War Z zombies, to try and defend Elon from whatever the slight criticism or jokes were about him. These gonad gobblers will always blow my mind because I don't understand this brain off worship of Elon Musk. Everything they hype him up to be, he is the opposite. He is not cool. He generates AI images of himself where he's not like this meatball shaped man. He is not for free
They think of him as a god, and he's not.
He's not a champion of free speech by any means. In fact, I personally think he is someone
just a cool guy,
firmly against it in almost every single instance. Like, he personally banned the word cis. He actively bans.
He's kind of a bitch sometimes.
And today I think is a great example of that, and hopefully will be a mask-off moment for a lot of people and open their eyes to the fact that this is not a guy who's for free speech and is not for you. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but do we even need to talk about the...
Let me open the lobby.
Come on.
Let me take this hit of weed.
He doesn't want to know you. He doesn't want to employ you. He wants the cheapest labor, and he wants everyone to be constantly fondling his sack and being really, really nice to him because he's our special boy. It's so embarrassing. So, what I want to talk about today is what I think should be a very clear example of how Elon uses his power and where he actually stands on free speech. He is having a textbook crash out over gaming. Earlier this week, Quinn made a beautiful video that's breaking down the fact that Elon Musk is not the one who piloted his Path of Exile 2 account to the top of the leaderboard. It's not a conspiracy, it's not grasping at straws. When you finish that video, and I highly recommend you watch the whole video, it will be very clear.
Yeah, I'm here.
Without a doubt, Elon Musk was not the one who actually got the account to where it was. He instead gets permission from the boosters to play on it and flex it for his Twitter streams. He didn't know the very basic fundamentals of the game. However, I will say that his catastrophe of a stream while trying to show how great he is at gaming was enough to make me get back into grinding Path of Exile 2, because I've been slow rolling it for a while. I was still on cruel difficulty, but then watching Elon the bumbling buffoon try and play
let me get you guys in, so at least you guys can warm up together.
To go back in and grind hard, so now I'm up to tier 3 waystones in the end game.
Wrong controller.
Fun. Getting sidetracked. The point is, Elon Musk knew nothing about the game. It was very clear. And the big thing about it wasn't that he had someone boosting his... He was just in this complete denial that he is the best gamer alive. Like, this game's a little too easy. I'm on max difficulty,
Need to find my phone.
swagged out mode, and I'm just kind of breezing through it because I'm just that good at games, that kind of thing. It's his reluctance to just be honest about, like, hey guys, I like this game. I don't have time to grind it, so I paid these people to grind it for me so that way I can get to the end game and, play the content I want. It wouldn't have blown up to this degree. I still think that would have been a little silly, and people would have still absolutely made fun of him for it, but to a lesser degree. It just, what's the point? Why are you paying someone to boost your account? If you like the game, why not just play it on your own time, even if it's not that fast, and even if you're not top of the charts? But for Elon, the reason is because he wants everyone to view him as God's gift to humanity. So, like, I'm one of the best gamers. Check the stats. And he didn't achieve it. It wasn't him. And when Quinn made this video, it very much hurt Elon. Because the gamers that he's trying to appeal to were privy to the fact that he's not the gaming god he.
Do we want a password or no?
And that damaged him.
Do you guys want other people to be able to join or just us?
Comical response, but I didn't expect it would be this absurd. To
set
the stage for what happens
password
next, Asmon and many others covered Quinn's video as well as other people's content talking about how it was impossible that Elon actually played on that account because he's just dog shit and knows nothing about the game. Asmon covered this. He talked about it, reacted to the video.
Passwords TV.
Today, Elon went on Twitter and had this to say. Asmon behaves like a maverick in
shit.
But in reality has to ask
password's one
permission before he can do anything. He is not his own man. He then leaked his DMs with Asmon where he said, this is Asmon, I'm going to see if my editors might want to make a second account for it. And then Elon replies, sure. Who are these mysterious editors? He actually sounds like that news anchor. Who is this 4chan? Like, how can someone be this fucking out of touch and stupid? I will never cease to be shocked by the...
Wait, what happened over here?
...that actually played on that account because he is just dog shit and knows nothing about the game. Asmon covered this. He talked about it, reacted to the video. And today, Elon went on Twitter and had this to say. Asmon behaves like a maverick independent, but in reality has to ask his boss for permission before he can do anything. He is not his own man. He then leaked his DMs with Asmon where he said...
That's so funny, dude.
I'm going to see if my editors might want to make a second account for it. And then Elon replies, sure. Who are these mysterious editors? He actually sounds like that news anchor. Who is this 4chan? Like, how can someone be this fucking out of touch and stupid? I will never cease to be shocked by the absolute idiot.
Yeah, he has no idea what's going on YouTube.
On the daily. Like, how? What do you mean, who are these mysterious editors? Do you not know what editors are? Holy shit. So then, Asmon explains, two guys, links them, and then they basically run the entire YouTube account, lol. So basically any content I post is edited or uploaded by them and they can just get a cut of the ad rev. It's a super good system to be honest. Almost everyone on YouTube does it. And then there's a community note there, which says what should be obvious to anyone with a functioning frontal lobe. Elon Musk seems to think Asmongold is an employee with editors overseeing him. That's incorrect. Asmongold's editors are actually his employees. They edit, upload his content for a revenue share. They don't control what he does. And then Elon Musk proceeds to take away Asmongold's checkmark on Twitter. You remember that thing Elon was like really adamant about, how check marks were kind of like weaponized? Hey, Elon, you're doing that. So the free speech guy, you're taking away his check mark because he hurt your feelings, fundamentally shadow banning him because without a check mark, his replies and his engagement go way down and you won't really see it anymore. You're shadow banning someone who hurt your feelings. Elon is just that fucking sensitive. In fact, sensitive doesn't even really cover it. Like, my cock gets sensitive when it gets sucked for too long.
The password is one.
Ooh. But, like, that's sensitive. Elon has reached a new level of sensitivity
Number
I
one.
did not think was even achievable by a human being.
Sounds good, real.
He's just fucking flabbergasted by how soft he is. He has all the money in the world, but is beyond...
Got some stuff to do first? Okay.
That I can't believe he's a real person. This has to be some kind of, like, Android protocol that we take from space, from like space redditors, in order to see like the limits of cringe that can be pushed. Come on. He's talking about editors and then saying Asmon needs his editor's permission to post things. He lacks the fundamental understanding not only of Path of Exile 2, but of life. like of living as a sentient being. How did he even reach that conclusion? I mean, I know how he reached that conclusion because he is a turbo moron who can't like activate neurons and think. So he saw the word editor and made the assumption that it's like the editors that will oversee someone's work in the journalism sector. And he gets these dots, these breadcrumbs that he starts connecting from out of fucking nowhere about how, well, Asmin is actually just a pawn of his editors. That's not just wrong, that is just blatant misinformation. He is actively engaging in misinformation, making it seem like Asmin has a puppet master above him, these
Well, he doesn't understand YouTube.
that he has to answer to. And then he abuses his power to take away his checkmark. He is actively doing all of the things he says he is super against, and all of the people say that he hates and will never do. He does it. I don't see how a single Elon Musk nipple-suckling leech could see this and conjure up some kind of excuse for it. There's no mental gymnastics that could possibly exist to justify this behavior. It's the epitome of everything people hate. It's cringe. It's sensitive. It's an abuse of power. His feelings got hurt, so he used his power as the fucking chief general of Twitter to take away his checkmark because he hurt his feelings. And then he goes on to leak.
Yeah, I think it's just you and Real Tal right now.
And be like, no,
I'm gonna play.
Elon was in the right here.
Play a couple rounds with you, and then I might make my steak after that.
I'm not your
while you guys play.
Like whoever you want, like whatever you want. Doesn't matter to me. But why do you have to like something and then love everything they ever do? Why can't you be?
You see who I want to play.
Like, you know, I really like Elon, but this was a bad look. I didn't like what he did here. I think this was pretty embarrassing. That's called being normal. For some reason, people just can't be normal anymore. If you like something, you have to be obsessed with it. You have to fucking love it. You have to be like snorting that drug constantly and shut out and hate everyone who pokes holes in it. It's so weird. I don't know why people want to live their life this way. They just want like the black and white. Elon good. Anyone who said Elon not good, they're bad. Elon good. I don't know why people want that. No one likes.
I don't think that's what people want.
And with the
I think that's what the media wants, right?
You don't have to think anymore. You can just wait for tweets to tell you what to
that's
think.
That's like be like an evil and a good.
Tell you what to think. I guess it's just easier to live your life on like
it's good for storytelling
pilot mode. But I would argue that you are doing yourself a huge disservice in life if you just live this way, where even if you really like Elon, whatever, why not just be receptive to the idea that he's not infallible? Maybe he does make mistakes. Maybe he is cringe sometimes. And you can acknowledge that, recognize that, and then at the end of the day, still like him if you want. It just doesn't compute with me. And of course, it's not exclusive to Elon. It's a very normal thing now all of a sudden.
Hey, thanks, Bryden. Like appreciate you, dude.
Like someone, anything that is brought up that's negative about it,
do I have you as a mod over there?
Spend hours a day arguing with bots on.
I should make you a mod on my YouTube if I haven't.
I just don't get it. Elon Musk, I think, is just the best example of this phenomenon because his fan base does PR for him as if it's their actual job. Like they are professional PR drones for Elon that he doesn't even have to pay because they are in the trenches every single minute of every single day, suckling on him, arguing on his behalf, shutting down any criticisms against him. It's just so embarrassing. Almost as embarrassing as Elon himself. So yeah, anyway, I had to talk about this. Because what an incredible response from Elon to just take away Asmin's check mark and then leak his DMs where he completely misunderstands that editors aren't like his overseers. It's so, oh my god. So yeah, anyway, that's really about it. See ya.
That's so funny, dude. I should offer to put stuff over on YouTube for extra Asmin. Probably make some money. Did you guys see this? While we're waiting?
Boy. Nintendo.com, Nintendo Switch 2. Now, about a week ago, I made a video where I kind of looked at the Nintendo Switch,
And to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I did not expect the amount of leaking that Nintendo had. Okay, there must have been some busted pipes back home in Nintendo. Where I guess Mario wasn't in the office to clean up the mess, if if you will. But ladies and gentlemen, Nintendo Switch 2 came out like a couple hours ago, and boy, we got a release date in 2025. Now you might be like, but Muda, why are you so excited about Nintendo? I thought you dislike. Look, there's a lot of stuff I dislike about Nintendo's practices.
I love
But when it
Nintendo.
comes to
Great
handheld
games.
gaming, these guys have apparently got the world in its vice grip. Okay. Now the Nintendo Switch effectively has been one of the highest selling systems out there. Okay, if you look at video games say or video game console sales, right? Let me just pull up pull it up, Jamie. All right, you'll find out that the Nintendo Switch is just behind the Nintendo DS, and the PlayStation 2 somehow has 160 million units sold. I think they re-audit this number because just make it 200 million, okay? Just make it that high. I know this is the most important thing PlayStation has for its hardware sales. But
Dude, you know what sucks for kids out there right now? Is you can't play Marvel Rivals on the Switch. So like all the rich kids, they have PCs or Steam decks, and like, dude, if you're not able to play Marvel Rivals, come on. That's what Nintendo's. Yeah, I don't know.
Is killing it, okay? And it's killing it because, in my personal opinion, I think Nintendo has figured out that people love to play their video games in the palm of their hands, cozy on their couch, in bed, whatever.
Hey, bro,
At grandma's
it's near
funeral,
12
if
for
you will.
me.
So, anyways,
And I
if you'll
still
give me
got
a
math.
timer over
Oh,
here,
don't worry, dude. Don't feel like you need to
20
play.
seconds or 22 seconds.
It is not
But you can see over here,
not
they've
a
got the old
problem.
Switch,
Me and Brian will
and
play some games
surprisingly, those
when
leaks
he's
that we were
ready.
talking about, yeah, those.
I'm just
they
chilling,
seem-
dude. It was good hanging out with you, real.
They seemed heckin' there, and it's because of how serious these leaks were. Nintendo was pretty aggravated about it, and I feel
You like
they
real
should
or
have
towel
launched
or the whole thing? Real
slightly
towel.
earlier than they should have. So it's got the hinges that the kids are gonna break off instantly. And of course, it goes all the way down. So if you want to just lay this thing flat, you pretty much can. And of course, the Joy-Cons are unfortunately still the same analog nonsense that I dislike about the Nintendo Switch 1 in the first place. Why can we not have depressive sticks? Okay, something that goes a little bit, I think it's concave, right in. Something similar to the Steam Deck, the PlayStation, the Xbox. Xbox being hands down my favorite hand controller that I could ever imagine for any.
I don't know. I don't hate
But of course,
the Nintendo
looks
Switch
pretty much
controls.
nearly identical to the Switch. They've changed the Joy-Con a little bit to having this new little port. And of course, one of the interesting things about these Joy-Cons is, yes, it really seems like you can use them as goddamn mice. So Mario Paint 2, that's gonna be a thing. Hopefully. And if you go down over here, they just click right into the actual Switch. And some of those connectors, like this one, I hope kids don't manage to end up actually breaking that off just because it's like sticking out in the open. I do expect that to be a little bit sturdy, if you will. But of course, the further you go down into it, that is the Nintendo Switch 2. It is about what you expected. It's a Nintendo Switch, just a little bit sleeker, if you will. And of course, they also showed like one game in this as well too. Now I don't know if this is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Certainly doesn't look like it. Certainly could be the new Mario Kart that they probably silently announced. But yeah, it docks, it connects to your TV, and of course, it's a next generation gaming system. Now, they did show some really cool things about this too. It's entirely on their website where, like, yes, you can actually see that it is, in fact, the good old Nintendo Switch 2. And one of the questions that I had asked, which they already kind of answered anyways, but I should elaborate further. Backwards compatibility is a thing. Now, for somebody like me that loves physical media, I have collected so many Switch games that, for me, before the Steam Deck, this was my primary, like, gaming system for a time.
Here we go, dude.
I played most of my RPGs right here. In fact, even recently playing through the entire Final Fantasy, like 1 to 6, I had the Switch version of the game, which I ended up getting before the price on that blew through the roof. It is an absolutely great way to play Switch titles. But of course, or play like, you know, any JRPG on the go, especially when you're putting in like 20, 30 hours into something. You just play it for a bit, you know, close the system, and then come back right where you left off. But of course, you can play Switch 2 exclusive games as well as Switch and or Switch games on the Switch 2, which it seems that they're using the exact same cartridge. So again, one of the issues that I could have with cartridges, while it's great for physical preservation, the issue that I might notice with this is obviously games are going to get bigger in size, right? As you know, the processing power on the Switch 2 increases, the games that are going to be running on it, like if this is a Cyberpunk 2077 at some point, which it may, I don't know, it's going to be using a much larger cartridge. One of the only issues with Switch games is when you buy them physical, sometimes developers opt for smaller size cartridges. And
Dude,
what that means is, like, let's
we're
say
both
you buy
such damn, I only hit you once.
or the Master Collection, for example. You buy the Switch game and you find out the actual physical cartridge doesn't have the game on it. You have to download the patches, you have to download the entire
They're using some of my tools to hit you. Oh shit.
Alongside having the physical cartridge. So you get no benefit from the physical ownership, and you might as well just...
You got that down.
Digitally.
You're way better.
You gotta download it anyways. You might as well just download the whole thing and not deal with cartridges in the first place. Physical media that's neutered is not really physical media worth getting. It's just a license check with extra problems attached to it. Which again is the only question that I have asked. Is Nintendo going to force developers to buy the cartridge with the size that is determined into their game? Or are they going to let them half-ass it again? Which means physical media might actually be annoying on the Switch 2.
Oh, that's why it's not working.
Which, this is a huge
I swap controls.
topic for me. You know that I've made tons of videos on game preservation.
Still have my smashes down.
And of course,
This,
the only reason
control stick.
I use handheld or like any of these systems is to have physical media. I think it's the best way to own your game. Nobody can take away a physical copy that works on a device like this. So that's one of the questions that I kind of have asking for it. Cartridges are obviously going to be more expensive the more data you need. And there's going to be developers that, you know, will cheap out.
What a bro stock. Thank you.
That won't. And I want to be able to know if Nintendo's going to make sure these developers or these third parties end up actually giving good physical media. Nintendo does a great job. All right, Nintendo does an amazing job with physical media. You can't say the same for people in their camp. And of course, this ends up getting a more closer look sometime down in April. So yes, if you're excited to know how the Nintendo Switch is going to fare, well, you'll find out more towards closer to tax season. Now, one thing that is interesting about this shit that I'm really excited for is that they actually do have an exclusive.
Dude,
sometime
that was cool. That was a close game.
To the city. Well, reasonably close as
Can you add? Yeah, I'll add you on Switch.
20, 25
I think it'll.
bring somebody with me, and we might.
Let me see. I don't think I can add you from here.
Hands-on event. This actually would be the first hands-on event that I might.
I will add you though.
So you do have to register for it, so.
But I think I'd have to close down the lobby.
I feel like
to add you right now.
I feel like
So we'll do it after.
Or you know, in the GTA at this point, I should actually try to go to this thing. But yeah, this is the Nintendo Switch 2. And to be fair, am I excited for it? Yeah, I'm excited for anything in gaming. I'm excited for any new system that's coming out, obviously. Even if like I have my issues with Nintendo, this is going to be something that I look forward to because I want to see what the processor baseline is for this. I know a lot of stuff has already been leaked, but at this point, it's much like the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. Once I know that it's officially out there, at this point I can wait pretty much indefinitely just to see how things go, okay? I'm sure Nintendo's going to have a lot of stuff to say. And to be honest with you, I'm excited now with the Steam Deck, with the Rogue Ally, with the Legion Go, with all these handheld gaming PCs, just how Nintendo's going to keep their throne in a world where they're actually facing serious competition, that handheld console hybrid gaming market, right? You know, docking your system and playing it on the TV and playing it in your hand is no, you know, shocking thing anymore. So Nintendo Switch has to actually provide some level of boon in this competitive field. How powerful is this thing going to be? Are we going to be playing shit like Cyberpunk 2077 on it? Are we going to be playing Grand Theft Auto 6 on it? That would be interesting to see. I would probably buy GTA 6 physically on the Nintendo Switch 2 just so I could play that shit in the palm of my hands and be playing it docked on a big screen anyways. Even if it may not look as sharp as the PS5 Pro version, just having it in that hybrid system might be enough for me to consider getting it for Switch. Even though that's highly unlikely, probably would have been announced a while ago, or you might have to wait a year. But I'm kind of rambling at this point. Switch 2 is here, and yeah, wanted to talk about it. It's pretty awesome. If you like the stuff, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it, and out.
I thought I was gonna get the smash there. Oh! Oh shit. Okay. Oh shit! Get through start! Good stuff, dude. GG. I like Steve Ranella.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast.
Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Steve Ranella.
That was a long exhale.
I needed one.
Hey, is this Trump's chair?
He sat in that chair, yeah.
I want to soak up some of the tenacity, man.
He's got a lot of that.
It took me a long time, man. It took me a long time to see it. Like, I remember people would talk, you know, there was this thing when he emerged on the scene, it was this thing about, like, toughness. And I'd always
Still didn't change my control
in my
speed.
mind,
Could have
toughness
done
was
this.
being able to go through some, like, alder-choked hellhole real fast.
Right.
Or hike up a hill.
All right, now that I
was
know.
like, that's not tough. And then later I was like, oh. You know?
Yeah.
Like that
Mental toughness.
That's
You there?
kind of tough,
I
man.
mean, think about what that guy went through. I mean, he had
Oh,
the
shit.
entire media, the entire justice system. He had the deep state, the Central Intelligence Agency. He had all these people like conspiring to take him out. Literally an
Oh, shit.
assassination attempt, and then another one. In and out of the news in no time. Nobody cared. No grace period.
No.
Shit.
They waited about a day, and then they started talking shit about him again.
That thing is out of when I looked at, like, now that I've come to understand it better, I'm like the fact that most people would crawl into a hole.
Yeah.
You know, after I got a buddy, I don't want to say who it is, but he had sold his business, and he told me, he goes, well, when I sell my business, I'm going to crawl into a deep dark hole. And later he's kind of back out and bought another business. And I said, what about crawling into the deep dark hole? He said, well, I did, but my wife was in there. He goes, I had to get back. I'm not ready yet. I got to get back out.
People, I think that's like these sort of fictional depictions of the future. That, you know, everybody wants this future where, you know, you're just holding hands and walking off into the sunset, the golden years. It's all bullshit. If you're alive, you're going to want to do the same things you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You're not going to have some point in your life where you're going to want to do nothing and be happy that you don't have to do anything. You're going to get depressed.
Yeah, I think about it. But my wife's smart enough to worry about what had happened to us if we didn't have, like, you know, dragons to slay.
Yeah.
You know, she feels that it might be essential.
It's essential for life. You need puzzle. You need at least some sort of a very involving hobby. You need something. I mean, you can retire from, if you have a lot of money, you could retire from
Dude, this is a good
financial
match.
pursuits. But you need something that you enjoy doing. Human beings need tasks. If you don't have something, you get very dull, and that's how people get Alzheimer's. They just fucking get dementia. They just like sit around the house, and their brain atrophies, and then they just die.
You owe me an apology or get cooked.
You know,
dude, you kicked my ass that time.
Well, Biden and Trump would be at that age. Like I plan on at that age to be like really kicking it, and just screwing around outside.
Yeah, just having fun.
That just thing that like to perform to the bitter end, man.
Well, Biden is not performing. I mean,
trying to perform to the bitter
whatever he's
end.
doing is strange.
Yeah, trying to keep at it.
He's getting propped up. I think there's other people that are like pushing him towards the get out there, come on. Like I think Jill's got her hands on his lower back,
just
like,
giving a push.
Get out there, come on, you can win again. I think I could have beaten Trump. Yeah, it's but it's that thing too where people, one day you get to a certain age and you'll like, you know. I'm 57, and I used to think, when I'm 57, I'll be done. If I have some money, I'm just gonna relax.
Yeah,
that's nonsense. I don't want to relax.
How long do you think if you had to guess, how long would you do this podcast?
This is the easiest thing I do.
Really?
Yeah, I'll do this forever.
Really?
It's so easy to do. Yeah, as long as I'm actually interested in talking to people. How hard is that?
Actually interested.
Yeah, but that's the only reason why I do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like I only talk to people I want to talk to. So no one ever tells me, you know, have this person on your show. There's literally zero input from anyone else. So everybody I talk to, I look at it, I go, do I want to talk to that guy? That might be cool. That'd be interesting. I want to find out what makes him tick. I want to find out why she writes those books like that. I want to find out, you know, what keeps him going. That's like the whole reason why I do it is because I enjoy it.
Do you picture walking away from stand up before you walk away from podcasts?
I don't know. Why would I do that too? I have my own club now.
I don't know. I'm 50 years old, man. I'm just starting to wonder. I'm just starting to have all these questions.
Nah, I think you just stay healthy. Stay healthy and do what you enjoy doing. I think live in the moment. I think this idea of like planning for the future is like silly. I really do. I think you should have goals. Like if you enjoy doing things and you're like, I would like to get to this point. I would like to do this. Or something to strive towards. That's good. But this idea that like, you know, one day you're just gonna like stop doing stuff. Like why?
Yeah.
Are you alive? Are you enjoying doing it? Yeah. So shut the fuck up. Like you could be so much. So many things to dwell on other than
slap me in a good one, dude.
Why would I ever even think about that?
3-stock technically, homie. Yeah, you're right. You 3-stock my ass.
But I'd be more interested in them after I cross that threshold, you know.
But I could conceive a time where I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to be a public person anymore. The public aspect of it is the weirdest part. The people constantly wanting your time and everybody thinking, if I can connect with this guy, that I can make a lot of money. I can set up a business with him. I can do this with him. I can do that with him. He can introduce me to this. I can, you know, work with him. I could. There's a lot of that. A lot of that that's exhausting. A lot of these like opportunists.
Here, let me move this actually.
Yeah.
You know, those are exhausting.
I remember years ago, 3-4 years
Hey,
ago,
bitch.
you told me that you wished you were. We were eating barbecue, and you told me you wish you were 10% less famous. Which I thought was, but I feel like then you got 20% more famous.
Yeah. Yeah, I fucked up. Well, I thought doing the Spotify
I was like, his direction isn't going the right way.
That was the whole reason why I took the Spotify deal. I was like, good, they're going to give me a lot of money, and it'll only be on Spotify, so I'll be about 10% less famous. Good. Let me slide off into obscurity. Because as long as I'm making money, I was like, I just enjoy doing it. I don't care how many people, like the people that like it will still listen. So maybe I'll have less casual fans. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? You know?
Yeah.
There's a certain level of fame, though, that's a little unmanageable, and I'm in that level.
Yeah.
It's very unmanageable.
You know what it is? Well, if you'll allow me to tell you what it is.
Okay, please do.
And I observed this. My wife who's traveling through right now. I observed this after we'd had dinner with you one time, and certain individuals, you included, would be that
Damn it.
it's not necessarily it's not just people that don't like you, right? There's people that like you too much.
Yeah.
It's
people
like
that don't like you just avoid you. Those
I
are
know,
great.
and so it's like you got to like at a certain point, you got to worry about the people that like you.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I know.
Because they like you a lot. You know?
Oh, I know. Yeah, and they also.
they're like, I'd like to kidnap that Joe
Shit.
Rogan with me.
Another 3-star.
Basement.
Yeah, I get like letters. People want me to come to their house. I get it. You know.
I need to go
especially
cook my
when
piece of
does,
meat.
and the thing about
You good chilling for a few minutes?
You're so intimately connected to that person because you hear that person talk all the time.
Yeah.
I do 4 of these a week, so it's like they're hearing me. You know, it's fucking 12 hours a week of me talking to you.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. That thing. I mean, it comes up. It's over observed.
I'll sit over here in the waiting area.
Harris mentioned it to me. He's like, people think like
That's what you
like,
get,
think
yeah.
They know you, but he's
This
like,
is my
he's like,
revenge.
they do.
Yeah, I'll be back. I'm gonna go cook my steak.
They do, and you don't know them.
Yeah.
Which is real weird.
Yeah. They know what you think about stuff. They know what you think about current events. They know about your background.
Maybe have another beer.
About that though is if like someone tries to pretend you're something other than you are. If like there's a smear campaign against you, people are like, no, I know that guy.
Oh.
Like they actually know you.
Yeah.
They really know you. Like people have listened to me like 100 hours. There's no confusion. There's no like guesswork. Like this is who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not that complicated.
It's a long charade.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Visible. You know how most wireless plans feel like they're designed to confuse you with like hidden fees, weird subcharges, family plans you don't even want? Not with Visible. On the Visible plan, it's one line of unlimited 5G data for just $25 a month. Flat rate, no surprises, powered by Verizon's network, so you know it's solid. And here's the kicker, they're all digital. You can manage your plan in the app or online, meaning no stores, no pushy salespeople, just you and your phone. And right now, Visible's got an insane deal. Use promo code ROGAN by January 31st, and you will get the Visible plan for just $20 a month for 25 months. That's $5 off every month for over 2 years. So go to visible.com/Rogan and check it out. It's wireless made simple. Terms apply. See their website for the details.
That'd be a long charade that you've played.
Yeah. Imagine you bullshitted people for that long. That would be amazing.
Like 100,000 hour charade. 100,000 hour charade.
Bullshitting people. Yeah. But, you know, there's always that suspicion when you see someone on television that they're not really that way because there's been, like Ellen, like the Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a fucking bitch. And everybody, whoa, I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared. Because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was.
Yep.
You know, but I hadn't already known that because I had a buddy who worked for her. Like, and he was like, "She's a fucking monster."
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of. I didn't really had a lot of awareness. You probably did just from being in the business.
I only did because of my buddy.
Yeah,
my buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, "She's a piece of shit."
I didn't know enough to be surprised.
Yeah. It's just people that they get in those positions of power. And if their whole life they've been fucked with and picked on, or you know they've been marginalized, and then all of a sudden they're in control, like now it's payback. There's a lot of those folks.
That's what happened to Castro.
Is that it? Is that what happened to Castro?
Yeah, I mean, like it's like in fact, I would talk about that a little bit in some. I've discussed that in like various conversations around when you watch like certain political fortunes rise as things become vindictive.
I don't even go to Canada anymore. I won't go to Canada for a UFC. I don't go over there.
Man, I've spent my whole life in the northern tier states, but I've remained somewhat oblivious to political movements in Canada.
Well, they don't have free speech up there. They don't have a First Amendment. They have different laws. They have hate speech laws, which are very dangerous because who defines hate speech?
Yeah.
You know, like, so hate speech laws in Canada, they refer to gender pronouns now. So, like, not just male, female. Like, if if Caitlyn Jenner decides that she's a girl, like, Bruce Jenner decides he's a girl, now you have to call him Caitlyn. If you don't, that's hate speech. Like, okay, maybe that's debatable. Maybe you're being an asshole. But no, they want, like, all 78 fake genders, like Z, Zer, and all these fucking crazy fake ones, and they, thems, and...
Well, that's where, like, isn't that conversation what spawned kind of the ascendancy of Jordan Peterson,
100%.
right? Coming out of Canada.
Well, that's how Jordan and I became friends.
Yeah.
In 2015. And then Jordan did my podcast, and then Jordan became a famous guy. for speaking out against this.
Yeah.
He's going through some sort of bizarre re-education process in Canada, and he's going to publicize it because it's so ludicrous. So they want to educate him on like what he talks about on social media if he wants to keep his clinical license to practice as a psychotherapist.
Oh, is that right?
But he doesn't want to practice anyway. He makes far more money doing what they've essentially made a monster. They made him way more famous than he ever would have been before.
Yeah.
They highlighted all of Canada's problems way more than would ever get highlighted without this persecution of this guy. It's kind of crazy though.
Yeah.
So he's going through it. He's like, "Fuck you! I'll go through it, and I'll go through it publicly. You guys are idiots." Also, you're gonna have to
knowing
talk
what
to
the
me.
outcome will be.
Well, knowing he's gonna trounce them. Like, good luck debating that guy.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck. Like, good luck. Like, who do you got on your side that's gonna go up against that guy? Like, shut the fuck up. Who on your creepy, authoritarian, totalitarian regime is gonna stand up and make sense competing against Jordan Peterson? Good fucking luck.
I wouldn't want the job.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck debating that guy. It's just the whole situation up there is just like so fucked. And I don't know too much about that Pierre Polivet guy, but I hope that, you know, there's some sort of meaningful change up there that could bring. I used to love Canada. I used to say Canada is like America, but with like 20% less douchebags. They were so friendly. They're so nice. I used to love going to Montreal. I used to love going to Vancouver. I loved it up there. But the woke shit hit there so hard because they don't have freedom of speech. They don't have a First Amendment. So when they start clamping down on your ability to express yourself, like there's really disastrous implications.
Yeah. But there will probably be a course correction now, which it seems like just generally on free speech issues, there's a radical course correction right now.
Sure, or you become Iran.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
you roll
like,
that way.
Yeah, I mean, course correction doesn't always work. Like, you know, we think it works because it works in America. And it works in America because we have the First Amendment and we have the Second Amendment. And those two things work together. And if we didn't have those things, we would be genuinely fucked. Because every government wants to eventually completely and totally control its population because it's way easier for them to make money. And that's what they like to do.
Yeah.
They like to make money. They like to be in bed with the lobbyists and the military-industrial complex and the pharmaceutical-industrial complex, and they like to fucking impose their will on people. And if you can't express yourself and say, hey, this is fucked up, this is crazy, why am I doing this? Like, these studies show that you're not correct. Like, if you can't say all those things, which right now you can't do in Canada, it's not the same. Like, their ability to express themselves on the internet has been severely limited. It's real weird, man. It's real weird, and it's happening right. You could walk there. If you wanted to, you could walk there. And it's fucked. It's like it's on the same patch of land as us, and it's fucked. It just shows you what can happen here if you don't have the right laws. Because people like that fuckhead, Justin, they pretend
You guys
that
are on first name basis.
yeah, that cocksucker. They pretend that they're, and I don't talk this way about anybody.
No, I'm really surprised.
I genuinely despise people like that. And I think it's good to say it publicly because people need to understand like what these people are doing. These people are leading you on the road to legitimate communism. Like he's leading that country on a road to legitimate communism. It's very dangerous. And I think most Canadians are fed up with it at this point. It's just like the party up there has so much control. And he's been forced to resign. So he's got to step down. And just hopefully they don't get some new slick talker to con them into the same old bullshit. Hopefully someone comes along that has like real meaningful change.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm hoping is going to happen in America too. If that Tim Walz cocksucker, if that guy got into power, like if Kamala died and Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, was our fucking president, you know how crazy this country would be? That weirdo who puts tampons in the boys' room. And what about our Joy? Like he's a complete pathological liar. Like a complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square. Lied about being a fucking head coach of a football team.
Yeah, I thought some of that was just weird and how avoidable it was.
100% avoidable, but pathological liars, people that are habitual liars, they just lie all the time about everything.
But there's a way you can do it where it's sort of like no one's ever going to know. And there's things you can fib about that are just that you find out in 5 seconds. So you wonder about making the call to embellish something that a person could answer on their phone.
Right. Instantly.
Like almost as you're saying it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not true. No, this was your rank in the military.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't deploy for war. You didn't. Why are you saying you deployed at war? The weapons you used in war? No. You weren't in war. Like, oh, you were a head foot? No, you weren't a head coach. You were the water boy.
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about?
I thought some of that was weird.
Well, he's just a liar. But that's what a lot of these people are. They're just actors who are ugly, and they're like, well, I can't really make it in show business, and I want a lot of attention, and I want to be a special person, so I'll do politics. I'm good at bullshitting, and most people, they're trusting. They're like, oh, he's saying the right things. If you say the right things, abracadabra, and then next thing you know, you're a fucking governor.
Yeah. You ever gonna run for governor, Texas?
No, I'm not running for nothing. I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to do nothing.
I can picture down the road, man, that you might be like, I want to be governor of Texas.
Fuck
I'm back.
that. Why would I do that? I have the best job in the world.
I'll play a couple rounds. I ended up prepping my potato. That was it.
If I get something wrong, or listen, I'm a moron. Why are you listening to me in the first place? No, I have no.
Dude, that character is so cool that you're playing.
Form to have anything to do with anything involving politics, or I don't want to be in control of it. I don't even like having employees. Jamie's awesome, but I mean, I don't like having employees.
He nodded.
But he's just great. He's just great. He's easy. Like that's why there's so few of us here. Like I have a friend who has a podcast, a big podcast. And he has like fucking 13 people working for him. People running around with clipboards. I'm like, what do these people do?
Yeah.
Like, why do you have so many people working for
Oh
him?
shit.
Like, this doesn't freak you out. And he's always got, like, inter-office conflicts, and people are getting fired, and people are fighting with each other, and people are fighting over, like, promotions and trying to get to, like, backstabbing each other, and, like, ugh.
Yeah, maybe you wouldn't like being governor.
Fuck that. I would hate it. I don't want to be a mayor. I don't want to be nothing. I don't want to be nothing. But I did get some sort of...
Not even a mayor?
No. I don't want to be a city councilman. I don't want to be I don't want to be shit. I don't like... the whole thing about
I agree with for Joe here.
It's not.
I don't want to be anything either, other than a guy who goes home, enjoys his wife and kids and dogs. That's all I want.
Business. It's just I don't like.
Because good things happen there.
Yeah.
Part of the impetus that pushes people into it is that they want to reverse that, but I think that then there's a magnetic pull that takes you in the direction of being perhaps what you wanted to get rid of.
Seems like it happens to a lot of the like really idealistic young people that get involved in it, and then all of a sudden they start doing really well in the stock market, and
Yeah, they make some good bets.
yeah, they used to be making $28,000 a year, and all of a sudden they're worth $12 million. And now they're worth $20 million, and they're hanging out with a bunch of other people that are going on yachts on vacations. Like, I'm not going on a yacht on vacation.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I want Mercedes, and then they get you. They slowly get you. You know Evan Hafer.
Yeah.
Evan Hafer had a great saying. I've been repeating it a lot, too much lately for people to listen to this podcast. But he said, "Psychology is more contagious than the flu." I was like, "Ooh, that's so true."
Oh, I mean, like ideas in psychology.
Yeah, well, being around people,
Yeah,
the way
I'm
they
with
think.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You absorb the way they think.
Yeah. If you're around people that are just trying to have a good time, that are nice people, genuinely you lean in that direction.
Yeah.
True.
Like I try to spread that. I want everybody to have
True.
fun. Like, let's have a good time.
Yeah.
True.
Like, if you're around a bunch of
True.
creeps
That's
that are
what we're
just
here
trying
doing
to
tonight.
climb the ladder and claw their way into power, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Cheers,
How do
boys.
you maintain your sovereignty?
Yeah, that kind of psychological infection.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck battling it out with 460 other creeps who show up in D.C. and lie. Yuck. Although I did get like a bizarre.
I need to find my phone.
I did enjoy affecting the election.
Oh, dude, imagine. I can imagine.
I did enjoy it because I didn't want to. I did not want to get involved in any way, shape, or form. But it got so weird.
Yeah, you'd express that publicly in the past.
I was like, I don't want to have nothing, and I don't want to have anything to do with it in the future. I didn't want to. I just felt sucked into it. I'm like,
yeah.
Like, we can't do this again. We can't do it with these same people that fucked us for 4 years, and then they're gonna we're gonna do it differently now. Like what's going on? Did you see what's going on? Obviously, you've seen what's going on in California. But the governor gave this creepy fucking speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down while it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with these, with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We got some ideas. We speculate. We're gonna have some meetings. Like,
really?
Show it to him, Jamie. It's so creepy because it's happening while these people are, their houses have been burned, all their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have. Everything they have.
Is that a
gone.
punishment for one of your moves?
Heirlooms, you know, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
The development plans.
Watch this. Play this. Give me.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
With a big smile on his face. Look at the little wiggle he does with his shoulders. Speculator, watch this. Talking to Josh. Look at this. Look at this little wiggle. It's excited about the possibilities of speculators coming in. And he's saying we're move forward. We're going to move forward on that. These people lost their homes. A lot of those people don't even have fire insurance because the fire insurance pulled out of California. I think like 69% of fire insurance pulled out of California because they're like, this is too crazy. Like, you guys aren't doing jack shit to manage this. You're not clearing the brush. The amount of money they could have saved by just clearing brush, by filling the reservoir, that 11 million gallon reservoir was completely empty during the time of full fire season. Like, why didn't you fix that?
Yeah.
Like, it's all insanely mismanaged.
That is
And then
crazy.
This guy is on television talking about, we're really excited
Doing a dance.
about that. Doing a dance in front of the burned down home that people used to sleep in, where their children would sleep in. Like, this is so disgusting.
You know,
That's why I don't want to be governor.
yeah. Oh, you know what's funny? I was gonna tell you about on the way.
Give me a second, I'm gonna put my potato in.
Sitting across from one of our senators from Montana, and after when the flight was getting off, you know, it's hilarious. This old timer comes by him, and legitimately, I'm not joking, legitimately brings up to him potholes on the road.
Really?
Like on the airplane. It's like, you got to do something about these potholes. I'm outside of Belgrade, and those potholes are terrible. He's like, okay, yeah, got it.
Well, I mean, the senator can't do much about obviously.
No, I know, but it's just like, it's almost
Yeah.
like a cliche. But, you know, the thing with their night, guys that I grew up with, you know, like a fish that was very central to our upbringing was a fish called smelt. There's different kinds of smelt. So we had a rainbow smelt, and they live in the Great Lakes. And so in the spring, when the smelt run, you know, it was a big deal to go smelt dip. And we would smelt dip them in with drop nets and dip nets. It was a huge thing. And when smelt numbers were really high, you know, it was just like, it kind of brought everybody together.
A lot of my buddies used to do that in Massachusetts.
The smelt run.
Yeah.
So the other night, someone had taken out a clip where someone had taken out a chunk of an article in my friend circle and had sent me a thing where Trump had called the Delta smelt like a basically useless fish. And I was like, man, I feel like there needs to be like an article in the Constitution that the president cannot shit talk smelt, you know.
I can't find my phone.
But then I realized it was a different smelt, so I got I cooled off once I realized it was the Delta smelt, and not our beloved rainbow smelt.
When you can have, there's a balance, right, in terms of like being environmentally conscious, but also recognizing the needs of the human population.
Don't try to out deep voice me.
Okay.
I won't. So how
Just happened.
But I think that then there's a magnetic pull that takes you in the direction of being perhaps what you wanted to get rid of.
Seems like it happens to a lot of the like really idealistic young people that get involved in it, and then all of a sudden they start doing really well. Fucking monster.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of. I didn't really had a lot of awareness. You probably did just from being in the business.
I only did because of my buddy.
Yeah.
My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit.
I didn't know enough to be surprised.
It's just people that they working for you. Like this doesn't freak you out. And he's always got like inter-office conflicts and people are getting fired. Yeah, good luck. Good luck battling it out with 460 other creeps who show up in D.C. and lie. Yuck. Although I did get like a bizarre, I did enjoy affecting the election.
Oh, dude, imagine. I can imagine.
I did enjoy it because I didn't want to. I did not want to get involved in any way, shape, or form. But it got so weird.
Yeah, you'd express that publicly in the past.
I was like, I don't want to have nothing, and I don't want to have anything to do with it in the future. I don't. I didn't want to. I just felt sucked into it. I'm like,
yeah,
like we can't do this again. We can't do it with these same people that fucked us for 4 years, and then they're gonna we're gonna do it differently now. Like what's going on? Did you see what's going on? Obviously, you've seen what's going on in California. But the governor gave this creepy fucking speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down while it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with these, with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We got some ideas. A speculator. We're gonna have some meetings. Like he's doing
really?
This. Oh, show it to him, Jamie. It's so creepy because it's happening while these people are. Their houses have been burned, all their childhood memorabilia, all the stuff for their kids, the photos, the fucking everything they have. Everything they have is gone. All heirlooms, their mother's wedding ring, that kind of shit. Everything's burnt to the ground. And this guy's like standing in front of all this stuff, and he's got a smile on his face, and he's talking about land use.
The development plans.
Watch this. Play this. And give me.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators.
Thanks, baby.
Coming in, buying up properties.
And having fun?
So we're already working with our legal teams to
right,
move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
With a big smile on his face. Look at the little wiggle he does with his shoulders. Speculator, watch this. Talking to Josh. Look at this. Look at this little wiggle. It's excited about the possibilities of speculators coming in. And he's saying we're move forward. We're going to move forward on that. These people lost their homes. A lot of those people don't even have fire insurance because the fire insurance pulled out of California.
Mm-hmm.
I think like 69% of fire insurance pulled out of California because they're like, this is too crazy. Like, you guys aren't doing jack shit to manage this. You're not clearing the brush. The amount of money they could have saved by just clearing brush, by filling the reservoir, that 11 million gallon reservoir was completely empty during the time of full fire season. Like, why didn't you fix that?
Yeah.
Like, it's all insanely mismanaged. And then this guy is on television talking about, we're really excited about that. Doing a dance in front of the burned down home that people used to sleep in, where their children would sleep in. Like, this is so disgusting. That's why I don't want to.
All right, I'm gonna hit it.
On the way down here, I happened to
play.
sit across from one of our senators from Montana, and after when the flight was getting off, it's hilarious. This old timer comes by him, and legitimately, I'm not joking, legitimately brings up to him potholes on the road.
Really?
Like on the airplane. It's like, you got to do something about these potholes. I'm outside of Belgrade, and the potholes are terrible. He's like, okay, yeah, got it.
Well, I mean, the senator can't do much about obviously.
No, I know, but it's just like it's almost like a cliche. But the thing with the other night, guys that I grew up with, like a fish that was very central to our upbringing was a fish called smelt. Mm-hmm. There's different kinds of smelt. So we had a rainbow smelt, and they live in the Great Lakes. And so in the spring, when the smelt run, it was a big deal to go smelt dipping, and we would smelt dip them with drop nets and dip nets. It was a huge thing. And when smelt numbers were really high, it was just like, it kind of brought everybody together.
A lot of my buddies used to do that in Massachusetts.
The smelt run.
Yeah.
So the other night, someone had taken out a clip where someone had taken out a chunk of an article in my friend circle and had sent me a thing where Trump had called the Delta smelt like a basically useless fish. And I was like, man, I feel like there needs to be like an article in the Constitution that the president cannot shit talk smelt, but then I realized it was a different smelt. So I got I cooled off once I realized it was the Delta smelt and not our beloved rainbow smelt.
Well, you can have, there's a balance, right, in terms of like being environmentally conscious, but also recognizing the needs of the human population. And I think that's been distorted in California significantly.
Yeah, but I do get like my hackles get up about disparaging fishes and birds.
Of course. Yeah, no, I get it. Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook,
You
an official
bet we
sports
are.
partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning the playoffs, and you can score big by everywhere and knowing that occasionally these things blow up and you have a massive pollution but also I don't think we should be dependent on Saudi Arabia for all our oil.
It's a mix. You know, one of the kind of contradictions you encounter with stuff like this, and I've been a little bit involved in this the last few years as I started going down to the Gulf of Mexico to spearfish on.
I'm gonna try. Oh yeah, I need to change my.
And so the oil rigs are they're imagine like a vertical coral reef. You know, I don't want to call it, by no means I don't want to call the Gulf a desert, but I mean, you could, if you're away from the rigs, you could swim along the surface for miles potentially, right? If you're just swimming with a snorkel and mask, you can swim along the surface for miles and not encounter fish. I mean, it's counting where you're seeing them in front of your face.
Right.
And you pull up to a rig, and it's hung in fish. I mean, they're draped in thousands of fish. Okay, so you know you grow up with this idea. You just have a passionate understanding of all the stuff. You grow up.
You know what? Let me.
Oil exploration equals a diminishing of natural life, a diminishing of wildlife. And you go in, and there's this big debate where certain people want to pull the abandoned rigs out, but you have fishermen who are like, they're here now, leave them, because that's where all the fish are.
Yeah.
You know, and it's this very spirited debate, and different administrations will have different plans. They had a program like Idle Iron, which was to pull them out. There was a program called Rigs to Reefs, which is to tip them over so they're not navigational hazards.
Who do I want to? Oh yeah, I think I just keep
they cause like navigational obstructions. You can hang your gear up on them, but all the rod and reel fishermen and all the spear fishermen want the rigs there. So you wind up in a situation like that with real complexity, and you can picture, it puts people in a situation, in viewing it, it puts you in a situation where it's not that clean.
Yeah.
You know, like you're creating, I mean, you almost hate to say it because you're supposed to, you're supposed to be, people from the environmental movement are anti-oil exploration, but then you go and look and be like, they created like accidentally created an unbelievable fishery.
Yeah.
In the Gulf. And there's dudes now, like I got buddies that spearfish there and fish there. And it's like, you remember in Star Wars, the original Star Wars, where they go to that fucking planet and the planet's gone? So like, hey, shouldn't the planet be here, you know? That scene. I've been with buddies of mine, and they got GPS marks for rigs, and you show up, and it's like Star Wars. It's like you show up, and the rig's not there anymore, because there's these ships out there called rig reapers that are out plucking the rigs, and they're plucking them faster than they can put them in. But it's got all the fishermen pissed off.
That's an interesting situation.
Yeah, they want them there now, man.
Lake Austin has a similar situation. So Lake Austin used to be this, it's still very good for bass fishing. They have big bass on Lake Austin. And the people that live on the lake, the highfalutin folks, didn't like all the weeds.
Yeah.
So they brought in carp.
Oh.
And the carp ate everything.
Yeah.
So now the place looks like the bottom of a swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's like all the vegetation is fucked. And so the bass don't have a lot of places to go. Like, where I live, people go to the docks. Like they cast to the docks.
Shit. Let me do that.
They fish near people's docks because that's like the only cover that these fish have. And so there's talk of like
What a bro.
like trees or dropping things
creating
down.
structures.
Yeah, creating structures. And then there's people that are opposed to that. It's like, you have your the wakeboarders and all the people that like to recreation on the water. They don't want anything that could possibly fuck up their boat.
Yeah.
But like they already fucked it up by bringing in the carp. Like, and you can't get the carp out. Like, how are you going to kill the carp?
You know, you remember the writer Tom? Was it Tom Robbins or Tim? No, Tim Robbins is the actor, right?
Right.
Tom Robbins, skinny legs and all, jitterbug perfume. He had a line where, like in Hawaii, they had this famous thing where they had a rat problem, and then they brought in mongooses.
God damn it!
Now they got a mongoose.
Got my ass.
Yeah.
He had some line that like, we used to have a crime problem.
Dude, I'm excited for my potato and steak here in a little bit. I should have gotten asparagus or something to go along with it.
My first, you're talking about political involvement. My first time I ever approached anything remotely political was on the lake I grew up on. We had an invasive seaweed, an invasive aquatic plant called Eurasian milfoil, and it grew in our lake, but it made unbelievable fish habitat. And at the time, I was not hip enough to understand the deleterious effects of non-native vegetation. I just knew that when you wanted to catch a fish, you went to the milfoil
Give me a sec.
bed because all the fish were hiding in the milfoil. And they had this proposal to
I'm gonna be
come in and
AFK for a
kill all
sec.
the milfoil in all the lakes. And I went down, I remember I was in high school. I went down, I remember I was the sole person there to represent like the milfoil side of the argument. And then they did it. They went in and poisoned all the milfoil out of the lakes in hopes of, bringing in like the native seaweeds would take hold. But it absolutely transformed the lake. And from a fishery perspective, not a perspective of native habitat, but from a pounds of fish perspective, the pounds of fish, like the biomass of fish declined by pulling out the weeds.
Of course.
And on one hand, you look like there's fish everywhere. And some people be like, well, it's not a native plant. And we need to value native wildlife at the expense of what, a high schooler would look at as like, it's where the fish are.
Yeah. They didn't do what they did to Lake Austin. They didn't do it to Ladybird Lake. So if you go to Ladybird Lake, it's just hopping with bass.
Remained a good fishery.
Yeah, it's seaweed and all kinds of, or not seaweed, but lily pads and all kinds of shit over there that you don't have on Lake Austin. They didn't bring in the carp.
Yeah. The other enormously destructive thing that they've done around the lakes where I grew up on is so much of that life, the lake life, relies on what you call like the littoral zone, so the shoreline zone. And most of these fish species, they like it to be dirty, meaning weeds, falling over trees. Like it creates all kinds of habitat, right, for little stuff to hide. And on these lakes where I grew up in Michigan, there's been a tendency over the years to put Roundup on your shoreline and then haul in beach sand. And you just watch over the years, like over the course of my lifetime, you just watch this like really like verdant, kind of like vibrant environment become increasingly like a swimming pool. In a lot of those lakes, man, it's just been depressing to watch happen.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about eating freshwater fish, how much toxic chemicals are in freshwater fish. It's fucking bananas.
Well, they have state advisories, which I've always ignored.
Have you ever get your blood tested?
No, but you want to know? I might have told you a story, man. Did I ever tell you a story about this?
Which one?
Well, I'll tell it real quick. So I grew up with a guy a guy named Ron Spring.
Yes.
He had I tell you the Ron Spring story.
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead,
never mind.
though. Please do.
Oh, fuck, I tell the story too many
I don't think
people.
you told it on here.
Okay, I grew up with this guy Ron Spring, and for a living, he was a commercial bait fisherman. He would catch wigglers, minnows. He'd dig crawlers, catch leeches, and he would supply.
My beard's looking a little shitty. I need to get cleaned up.
Spring Sporting Goods, where he sold his own live bait, and he would even hire women to sew what's called a spawn sack, where you take little bits of pieces of salmon roe, salmon eggs, and sew them into a little mesh bag for steelhead bait. He was just in the bait business, but also was a fishing fanatic and lived off fish his whole life. So he was living off Great Lakes fish his whole life. And the University of Montana started trying to track down old
All right, let's go,
timers
bitch.
who'd eaten like enormous quantities of Great Lakes fish to test them for heavy metals exposure, okay, and other toxic things that are in the environment. And he'd lived his whole life like me with like a complete defiance of health advisory suggestions about fish consumption. And he goes down there, and he would go in every month or two for these little batteries of tests. And one of the things they would do with them is they would tell him, they'd give him a grocery list, and they'd be like, "Hey, you got to go to the store and buy like bread, eggs, cheese, butter, whatever." And then they'd wait a minute, and they'd say, "What were you supposed to buy at the store?" You know, and he's telling me the story, and he told me, I always laughed. He said, "Steve, I wouldn't have remembered that list if I never ate a piece of fish in my life."
So they were trying to like gauge his memory based on the amount of heavy metal in his body.
Yeah, they were presumably they tested his blood and found something of interest, and so they were trying to figure out like what happens to a guy. But I lived in Seattle, and right on Lake Washington, and we would catch a lot of yellow perch because people, they're full of yellow perch, which are not native, and everyone in that area in the Pacific Northwest is like a trout and salmon snob. So I had the whole fishery to myself. You know, you could go out and catch easily, 100+ yellow perch out of Lake Washington. They had a health advisory on them, and you weren't supposed to. They would tell you that perch over 12 inches, you're only supposed to eat 1 meal a month or some shit like that. But we just wouldn't keep them over 12 inches. Because there weren't that many over 12 inches anyways, and we just eat them all the time. I would have fish fries, and when you fried fish in the Great Lakes, there's no person in the Great Lakes region that I was aware of. Like in Michigan, there's no person that would even kind of give a shit about these restrictions. They would be surprised to hear that there were any kind of restrictions. But like the way the different sentiments and different mentalities run, in Seattle, you'd have people that they're like, "You caught it where? Lake Washington? No way." Right, just like a level of awareness from like an urban environment about those kind of toxins. And growing up, where I grew up, it was just not a thing that people discussed, even though they're right in the fishing regs.
When did it start happening? Like, when did freshwater fish become toxic? That would be something I'd be interested in.
Man, I think it's like it's mercury, it's certain industrial solvents.
It's BPA's too.
Yeah,
it's forever chemicals.
and I think that with Lake
All right,
Washington,
let's go.
There was a lot. Correct me, maybe I'm wrong. Like as I say this, I might be wrong. I think there was things around Boeing plants and old solvents and stuff that went in the water, but mercury, which comes from different ways. They have ways of scrubbing it now and greatly reducing the amount of mercury when you burn coal. But for a long time, mercury would come from the combustion of coal, and it would be distributed globally, evenly everywhere. So it didn't necessarily matter if you didn't matter if you're eating a pelagic fish. I mean, if you're eating like a piscivorous pelagic fish, which seemed to be
nice, dude.
What does pelagic mean?
Fish live
GG.
their life up at the surface. Okay, and then ones that eat fish are the worst. So picture you got like a marlin, right? He's eating tuna. Tuna are eating fish that are eating fish, and so they magnify and accumulate all this stuff in their fat. That's like globally distributed in the oceans, and they've slowed down mercury. They've slowed down how much mercury is going out because of the ways they scrub when they burn coal now. But it's stagnant in the environment.
Did I ever tell you my arsenic story?
No.
I got my blood work done. I get my blood work done pretty regularly, and I went once a few years back, quite a few years back, 15 years ago at least. And my doctor said, "You have a lot of arsenic in your blood." And I go, "Like someone's poisoning me?" He's like, "No." "Do you eat a lot of fish?"
Oh, really?
And I said, "I eat a lot of sardines." He goes, How much?" I go, 4 or 5 cans a night. And he was like, "What?" He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I go, "What are you doing?" Well, I love sardines, and when I come home from the comedy club and when I'm hungry, it's easy to have like what I thought was like a healthy food. It's just sardines and olive oil. What could be bad about that?
Yeah.
And so he said, "Take a few months off and then come back. Let's do this again." And I took a few months off and I came back, no arsenic.
Yep.
I was like, "Oh man." He goes, "It's not enough to be concerned." But you're getting arsenic in your blood from these sardines.
Yeah, I work with a guy, Seth, and he kind of had this perfect storm where we had been in Hawaii, so we had wahoo and yellowfin tuna, and he fishes in Alaska, so he had all his halibut, and then he's got a bunch of walleye that he catches. He's a big walleye fisherman that he catches locally, and he wound up had like there's like kind of like a long-term mercury deal and a short-term mercury deal, but he had mercury poisoning.
That character's so
His
cool.
hands went numb and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then I got to read about it, and there's like various cases where there's this other case that's kind of interesting. This guy gets on a cruise ship, never doesn't eat fish. This guy like doesn't have fish in his diet. It was a thing that was covered in the news. And he gets on the cruise, a cruise, and they have an all-you-can-eat sushi thing. So he wants to get his money's worth, and so he's gorging himself on this all-you-can-eat sushi during the course of his cruise, and generates mercury poisoning, like a short-term version, you know. And dudes I hang out with in Hawaii that have access to a lot of big piscivorous fish, they'll sort of like deliberately pace themselves, you know. Like they could live off tuna, right? But they'll deliberately pace themselves, keeping in mind the amount of that stuff you're getting in. And RFK Jr. I had RFK Jr. on the show, on our podcast, and he had mercury poisoning.
Really?
You know,
From what?
canned tuna. Was eating too much canned tuna. Wow. Yeah. So maybe I've had it. I don't know. I would. Well, no, I've had my blood tested. I don't know, but I can't picture the sentiment I have about it. As a friend of mine who fishes flathead catfish, which they accumulate a lot of not biotoxins. They accumulate a lot of heavy metals. And he said, we were talking about eating this stuff, and he said, if I can catch and eat so many big flatheads that it kills me, I win. That's his attitude.
Well, there's no cases of CWD getting into humans yet, right?
No.
No, but that's the big fear. Like you and I are on a text chain with Ted Nugent, and he's always like trying
I
to...
met Ted's kid last night.
Which one, Rocco?
Rocco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good kid.
Yeah.
You know, Ted is always trying to dismiss the concerns of CWD. He doesn't believe in it.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks it's overhyped.
Well,
It scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Because it's a prion disease, right?
Yeah.
So if it jumps to people, and it has jumped to like certain rodent species, isn't that correct?
No, right now it's cervids.
Oh, just cervids?
Cervids.
There
yeah.
hasn't been a case of it jumping to like a mole or something like that?
Well, they did. You know when you do, I don't want to get in over my waders here, but I'd love to talk about CWD at length, but sometimes you can do if someone does medical research and they'll have a finding, there's a term for it. Let's say you have a finding that's alarming, but you haven't done peer review yet. Right. But let's say I just all of a sudden made some discovery that had huge implications, and people would need to become immediately aware of what I might have found out. Right.
I was
There's a
sick.
term for it where you would release these like preliminary findings, even though it hasn't been held up to academic rigor, because it's of such importance. Like a lot of times you don't get to skip that step, but in cases of medical, you get to skip a step and say like, hey, hang tight. We're not all the way there yet, but look, this is kind of alarming. They had a case, and it all corroded, but these guys had a case where they were able to infect a rhesus monkey with CWD. But then it wasn't replicable, didn't hold up. But when things like that happen, they tend to get a ton of media. But then down the road, the media doesn't follow suit. Like there's been cases where there was one not long ago where they were looking at people that had this rare form of dementia, and they found that of these people that had this rare form of dementia, a couple of them were deer hunters who lived in CWD areas, right? So they come out with hey, everybody, check this out. But then it winds up being that when you do a statistical analysis on it, it was no different than anything else. There was no reason that it wasn't like they scored higher, that deer hunters scored higher, or nothing.
It's just a certain percentage of people get dementia.
Yeah, and so it's like a certain number of people eat dementia, a certain number of people eat venison, and statistically you're going to have some overlap if you survey enough people. So even though they gave like a big heads up, there won't be nothing there. But yeah, CWD, it's a highly infectious disease. It was first identified in Colorado on a research facility, not a game farm. It was first identified on a cervid research facility in Colorado, I believe in the early 70s. And then there's been a debate. Like some people feel that it was always there and wasn't detected. right? And that it wasn't like we found it the minute it came out. It was just that it would perhaps had been there, and then we discovered that it was always there. But it does expand its range all the time, right? Even in the last few years, we've had our first cases in Montana, and we keep every year we add, like, without fail, every year we find CWD in states where it didn't previously exist, or within states that have CWD, we find CWD in counties that didn't have it. Oftentimes you can look and it makes sense because it flows, but now and then you get these weird jumps, right? Where something jumps a big moat of inactivity, and then all of a sudden you get like a new hot spot, and you look and be like, well, if it's an infectious disease and deer aren't flying in airplanes, how did it jump? Some of the jumps people tie it to transporting. There's a theory that is well accepted in a lot of circles that moving cervids, moving deer and elk to penned operations has facilitated.
The fact that I lived after that one was absolutely outrageous.
If someone was a CWD denier before, it would be that they denied that it was a thing. Like,
here, let me set up the thing so there's some other people playing.
It's generally accepted now that there's a disease called CWD.
Now that Real Tell left.
Sort of, does it matter or not, right? Our mutual friend Doug Dern is like heavily involved in CWD, combating CWD, trying to get more money spent to understand CWD. And you're looking at, there's two risks with CWD. One risk is that ultimately it's going to lead to like destruction of deer herds, meaning if you get it's always fatal, and if infection rates get to a certain point, we're going to lose deer.
Cool.
Right.
There we go.
If it's always fatal and you have infection rates of 50 or 60%,
put this over
takes
here.
A couple years to kill them, like, you're going to run out of big bucks because nothing can live long enough. The other fear is that it jumps the barrier and becomes
That's what you cheesy.
You know. So people, all the hunters I know, like the question we always talk about is like, would you eat CWD positive meat?
Right.
Don't worry, buddy. I'm gonna wait for you to join.
Would you take that risk?
So Yanni,
make it so people can change the map.
With a guy, and he's eaten.
One
His
sec.
family have eaten 4 CWD positive.
Rules change rules.
Man. I couldn't. I can't. I couldn't serve it to my kids.
No, I wouldn't eat
Here,
it
one sec.
either.
I can't serve it to my kids.
No,
I don't. I haven't
kids.
knowingly eat it. But here's the thing. Here's the rub. I've said this number before, and people are like, that's not true, but it's true. I'm telling you, hundreds of thousands of deer herds. Meaning, if you get it's always fatal, and if infection rates get to a certain point, we're going to lose deer. Right? Like, if it's always fatal and you have infection rates of 50 or 60%, and it takes a couple years to kill them, like, you're going to run out of big bucks because nothing can live long enough. The other fear is that it jumps the barrier and becomes a human pathogen. So people, all the hunters I know, like, the question we always talk about is like, would you eat CWD positive meat?
Right, even if it doesn't jump currently, would you take that risk?
So Yanni was recently with a guy, and he's eaten, him and his family have eaten 4 CWD positive deer. Man, I couldn't. I can't. I couldn't serve it to my kids.
No, I wouldn't eat it myself either.
I can't serve it to my kids.
No,
I don't. I haven't knowingly eat it. But here's the thing. Here's the rub. I've said this number before, and people are like, that's not true, but it's true. I'm telling you, hundreds of thousands of people have eaten CWD positive. Hundreds of thousands of people have eaten CWD positive meat.
I would imagine that's true. Yeah.
Over many decades.
Yeah.
Right. So at what point do you get comfortable?
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one because
it's a tough one.
It can jump. It hasn't.
It hasn't.
But when you look at the history of these types of diseases, especially prion diseases like mad cow, prion disease jumped people.
You know the debate between prion and prion?
No.
You hear
I used to say prion, but then I heard scientists say prion, and I wanted to sound smart.
Well,
so
the biologist Jim Heffelfinger, that'd be a very good guy for you to have on your show someday. The biologist Jim Heffelfinger sent me thing where the guy that named it, the guy that coined the term, spelled out phonetically how it's supposed to be pronounced. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with Prion now. The guy that came up with it says Prion.
Oh, so that's what it is?
And not Prion.
Okay,
Yeah. He's like, we'll call it this and we'll pronounce it this way.
Okay. So it's Prion.
It's now I'm trying to. I always try to remember which one it is, and it's it's Prion. It's scary, dude. It's scary. And Doug, I said this 100 times like before. Like, if I say, man, the main thing I'm worried about is people getting it. That pisses Doug off because Doug's worried about that we're gonna lose big bucks. And people. He wants to shut. He likes healthy deer.
Right. And
He doesn't want a disease running through his deer herd.
It hasn't jumped to cows or anything else.
No, and that's one area where I'm going to get myself in trouble with Doug in all kinds of ways, because that's the thing I think about is it's not that I'm not saying the ag world is complacent, right? I'm not saying they're complacent. Like, there's a lot of interest in the agricultural community to understand CWD better. But if you look and be like, dude, a cow looks a hell of a lot more like a deer than I do.
Right.
I'm just going to watch the cow. And all of a sudden, these cows start getting sick. Then my ass is going to get nervous.
Right.
But I'm like, they're rubbing noses with these deer.
Yeah. And it gets on the grass. It gets on the
Sure.
vegetation.
And you can't kill that shit.
Yeah.
I remember some politician was like, well, just cook your deer meat longer. And I was like, well, I can't remember what it is. You can't cook deer meat to 1,400 degrees,
Yeah, you have to incinerate it.
or whatever, whatever else it becomes. But yeah, cooking it isn't the thing. It can survive. That's why if you hunt, there's a lot of restrictions now on moving carcasses around, right? So more and more states are implementing that when you go home, they don't want you bringing the head home. They don't want you bringing the bones home. I also fear for a time, and it'd just be terrible, fear for a time where you couldn't bring anything. Like, they really restrict movement,
Right.
Like, it's very easy to comply with not moving bones. It's easy to comply with not moving brain matter. Like, that's easy, right?
Yeah.
But picture that this gets out of hand and all of a sudden it's like you can't move venison across county lines. Or, I don't know.
Right.
Like, no one's thrown this out there, but as they look at like further and further restrictions, it's scary. And so from a guy like from I don't want to speak for Nugent, but from his idea of it being overblown, is his idea would be, like I said, I hate speaking for the guy. It would be that here we are making policy changes, making game management changes, making rule changes, adjusting what you can and can't do in the woods based off a thing that most people would be like, but we haven't proven there's a problem.
Right.
That would be his perspective on it. My perspective is it's scary as shit. And as much as our government right now is trying to find a way to stop spending so much money, I support any money that can get spent on finding out if this can be a real problem or not.
Yeah.
Brian, were you able to get in there, bud?
I'll find other places to get the money, but I'd like to channel taxpayer dollars.
Sorry, dude, it's not me.
Billions of
It's
them
the
into making sure
the other players.
Well, the thing
So
is,
just try to grab it when you're
there's no way to arrest
next
it, right?
next round.
There's no way to identify the deer that have it, that have an
Let me know if you don't get trouble.
and they're spreading it.
they're
other
looking at
deer.
ways to test live animals. Then there's other cockamamie ideas that one would be that some deer seem to be.
I'll try to grab the idea and put it in chat.
Some deer,
Resilient?
and so that you'd move these resilient deer into other populations to try to breed in some kind of resiliency, which it's a wild animal.
But is it ultimately resilient? Because like mad cow disease has, there's an incubation period, right? This is the concern. Like I remember.
That's the other thing is that we're all like me, everybody. I guarantee.
I'll grab it for you.
The other concern is we all got it. We just
Don't you worry your little heart.
10 years.
Yeah, my
But they've
buddy
been
Rupert.
tracking these dudes that went to a fire department fundraiser. They had 100-some people that ate a bunch of CWD infected meat at a fire department fundraiser, and they keep following up on those people and following up on those people. And they haven't got it. But that's
How
the other
long ago
thing.
was it?
It was over a decade ago. So that's the other thing is that we all got it. Like all these hunters, I don't think this is true, but some people are like, all these hunters, they don't know it yet, but it could be that all of a sudden in 10 years they all start dropping like flies or could develop dementia. Boy, it's such a, I really think that, I don't like to see any kind of wildlife disease, right?
Of course.
I do believe if you look at prevalency rates and you look at the fact that it's always
Excuse me.
always fatal, whether or not removing the human question to it, I do think that you will find that it'll become harder to produce big deer. I worry about that, and it'd be easy to track. Just go and look at Boone and Crockett entries over time from all these counties. So go to like Buffalo County, Wisconsin, like a famous giant whitetail producing place, right? They get high rates of CWD prevalency. If you put a line on CWD prevalency, and you put a line on Boone and Crockett entries, and you're able to track this over many years because we have all this data, does it correlate? Does like CWD prevalency drive down big bucks?
Right.
It's like,
Oh,
I'm
you're right.
that
I'll just quit the
I'm sure
spectate.
some mathematician out there has started to try to look at like if it's true, but a lot of people on the ground say that you do see population level impact from CWD, and I'm guessing there's no way it doesn't affect participation. Meaning that people
So
that would like
idea
to
is
hunt,
8S
and the whole
for
promise of wild meat is
F1.
you're getting like really healthy meat.
Right.
You're able to control the food chain, but then all of a sudden you throw in this question of like, well, but it could give you a prion disease. Hypothetically, that's gonna dampen people's enthusiasm about deer. And I'd hate to see we get to a point.
All right,
where
guys, I'm gonna go
when
cook
I
my
look
steak.
At a deer, I look at a
I'll be
deer
back.
with like great enthusiasm and love. What happens when we look at deer and we look at them like a disease vector? Right? Does it become like do you view it like a rat, or you see a rat and you like recoil?
Ooh.
Like I don't want that shit in my yard.
Right.
They carry
right.
disease, don't
Right,
they?
What if your dog could get it?
Yeah, like picture down the road that like deer, which are this like universally loved, praised animal, this kind of like symbol of the American outdoorsman, becomes like that shit out of my yard.
Oof.
You know?
What is when Doug talks about, they do a lot of testing in Wisconsin where Doug
a lot
is.
of testing. Yeah.
What's the percentage that come up positive?
Man, they have. I think that on Doug's place, I think that like last year, I don't know if they got all the results from this year, but I think last year they had close to 50% of bucks.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's hovering. It's like very high.
And this is fairly recent, like a decade ago they started appearing, right?
Yeah, I think that CWD goes back maybe about a decade in his area. He's in Richland County. Richland, is he Richland County? Yeah, Richland County, Wisconsin. Somewhere in that ballpark. And it's changed. Like when you were at Doug's place, remember at Doug's place they used to have this slogan like "nice buck next year," meaning
Right.
Let deer grow, let deer grow. And Doug has really changed over the years. He's changed his tune, and they really want to try to. The idea generally with wildlife managers is that by you'll slow spread by lowering numbers. Right, that if you have 40 deer per square mile, you're going to have increased spread, and if it was 20 deer per square mile, 30 deer per square mile, you might slow the spread. But no one's demonstrated a lot of success in slowing the spread of CWD, so other hunters will look at it and be like, yeah, you're out there lowering deer numbers, and so there's half as many deer on the landscape, and CWD still spreads, right? So you wind up with this question of like, how do you justify trying to suppress deer numbers when you're not demonstrating a lot of success in slowing prevalency, and the whole thing you're afraid of is lowering deer numbers, but you're lowering deer numbers, right? But it's like a controlled lowering to slow the spread.
Right.
But no one has an area, to your point, you can't go to a county. I don't think, if I'm wrong by maybe one county, but I'm pretty positive I'm not wrong. And this is generally absolutely true. You can't go to a county that had infected deer that no longer has infected deer. No one's gone into a population of deer and eradicated CWD.
Wow.
No one's gotten rid of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Has it jumped to moose?
Yeah, I think that cervids. So primarily whitetail deer, mule deer, elk. They found it. They've had it transmit to caribou. I should know that. It's got to be because it's a cervid, so there's no way it doesn't.
Numbers,
not from that.
Right, but I'm saying like the thing about moose is there's lower numbers and they don't exist in like packs.
Yeah. But since it is a cervid disease, I should know this. Since it is, I'm assuming they've found it in there. I can't think of examples. I can think of mule deer, whitetail deer, elk, caribou, but I can't think of whether or not there's been a positive case of moose. And moose have a whole host of problems right now in some areas, particularly in the lower 48, the northern states of the lower 48, between wolf depredation and then a tick.
Ooh.
Like a tick is really hammering those moose right now.
Someone told me they went hunting and they got a moose and it was just covered in ticks.
Yeah. There's a problem with, in this long series of mild winters, that these extreme colds that would lower these tick numbers down hasn't been happening. So you're having animals literally dying, like a lot of moose literally dying from tick infestations. Yeah. And then Colorado's becoming like a great. Oh, here's all the.
Found in moose in many state provinces,
There you
including
go.
Alberta, Saskatchewan, Colorado, and Texas has moose. What? Texas has moose?
No. He's
Relatively
that's
small
not.
areas in the Panhandle of West Texas.
Yeah.
CWD.
That's
maybe.
Yeah, that's CWD. But
that's cockeyed.
do they
right there.
have moose in Texas?
No. I think it's mixing up two things.
But it says it there. CWD
I know,
has been found in
CWD has been found in Texas.
Right, so
but
they're not saying moose in Texas.
Yeah.
Just Google, are there moose in Texas?
There are not. I mean, everything's in Texas in some form of capacity, but no, you're way outside.
No moose in Texas.
Yeah, you're way outside of moose,
Yeah.
the native range of moose.
Yeah.
Colorado is becoming like an unexpected, is blowing up for moose.
Really?
Yeah. Colorado becomes better. I mean, they've always had moose, but like Colorado's becoming like a premier moose state.
When did that happen?
They've just been kicking ass there, up in the high country. Yeah, more and more moose. It's becoming like a great moose state. And meanwhile, like Maine is really suffering as a moose state.
Really?
Yeah, so like Maine's whole brand promise, is like around moose, and then Colorado's going to steal it.
No, well, it's difficult to get a tag in Maine, right?
That's very hard.
Very hard.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's for a non-resident especially. I used to apply over there, but I don't apply anymore.
Now, what's causing the moose decline in Maine?
Ticks.
Oh God.
Yeah, ticks.
Dirty little fucking things.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the conspiracy theory about Lyme disease?
Yeah.
That's a weird one, right?
Yeah. It is.
Seems like there's some legitimate concern there that it might have been a bioweapon that got out of hand.
Well, I think after the pandemic we just went through, I think people are more open to that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was widely dismissed by people that are a little bit more skeptical about conspiracies.
Mm.
But RFJ Jr. he believes it.
Yeah.
It's very scary, this idea of these fucking eggheads experimenting with diseases and making them more infectious for whatever reason without also developing a cure.
Yeah, it is.
It's very strange.
I guess the one justification you'd have is you'd be like, well, by tinkering with it, we'll better understand it, and if it ever happens naturally, we'd be able to combat it.
Yeah, how'd that work out? That didn't really work out, did it?
That has to be the story you tell to yourself.
I think they just make money doing research. I think if you're a researcher, like if you're a carpenter, you want to build houses. They say there's too many houses. Like, come on, I don't fucking need houses. I'm a carpenter. I make houses. But if you're a researcher and your field of study is diseases and viruses, you want to study them. And if the money is involved in some sort of bizarre engineering of these things, which is what they're doing, this fucking strange gain of function shit that they're doing, you do it. And if you can't do it in America, you're like, China? Okay, we'll do it over there.
There was a famous buffalo hide hunter, and he had talked about during the Great Slaughter of the buffalo, he had talked about now and then he'd commit himself to stop. But he'd say he'd wake up in the morning and off in the distance, and he's like, someone else is doing it. So I think that probably with the, I'm no pathologist, but as long as someone's tinkering with that shit, everybody wants to tinker with that shit.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I don't know, what are they doing over there that I what am I missing out on?
Right. Yeah.
If they're doing it, I want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the one that looks like a fool.
And there's research money.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get grants.
Yeah. And you know what? I bet you in some ways the pandemic spawned more of that type of research.
You think so?
Yeah, because also now you can make the case of how important it is to understand this stuff.
Yeah, but you would also make the case like, hey, how about you fuckheads come up with a cure first?
Yeah, start with that.
Yeah, start with figuring out how to cure it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's just like, there's just not a lot of trust in the medical research institutions now.
No, there's been an erosion of that for sure.
For a good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a real wake-up call for people.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, there's not someone with real objective oversight of all this, like doing a really good job of maintaining everything. It's not a really well-maintained situation.
Yeah, I used to be a dude that prior to that, I was a dude that accepted a lot of I accepted a lot of assurances, and then there was a definite, like many people, I'm speaking for most people in the country, man. I feel like many people, I gained a new skepticism.
Yeah, me too.
During the pandemic.
Yeah, I joked about it in my special.
About government authority, a new skepticism about some types of government authority, and a new skepticism about the way health information is spread.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where anything involving money, whenever there's an enormous amount of money involved, and then there's a centralized control of information, like where there's people that have a distribution of information, and then there's also the problem of exonerating people from any responsibility, which is what happened in the 1990s, or was it the 80s? Whenever they gave them, because the vaccine manufacturers were saying, listen, we can't manufacture vaccines because too many people are getting injured by them, and we're going to have so much liability that we're not going to be able to make manufacture vaccines anymore unless you give us immunity to prosecution.
Yeah.
And so they gave it to them. And then all of a sudden, you're getting 72 vaccines. Instead, you're giving children hepatitis V. Hepatitis B for babies, which is just fucking crazy. A sexually transmitted disease for babies. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Well, you're doing it because you can. And because the more vaccines you give kids, the more money you make. And you're not responsible. You don't have to pay off anything. You don't get sued. Which is just, you can't do that with these fucking corporations. They're just too evil. They are sociopaths. They act like sociopaths. They lie about studies. They lie about side effects. They minimize their responsibility, and they profit immensely. And they continue to do so as long as they're not punished. And that's the business that they're in.
Yeah, I get the frustration, but I mean at the same time, like I've been the recipient of like remedies offered by Western medicine.
Remedies offered by Western medicine for diseases caused by science. Yeah, you
possibly.
You are. Yeah, you are with Lyme disease.
Yeah, some things like if you take a natural thing like Giardia. These are, I don't think anyone's arguing about that, but I mean like you get sick as shit.
Oh, listen.
Then all of a sudden you take a pill and you're quick.
No one's arguing that medicine isn't amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, medicine's amazing. But the problem with medicine is you got your scientists and your medical researchers, and then you got your money people, right? And the money people, they don't even know how to make any of this medicine. They just know to sell it.
Yeah.
And how do I sell it? I sell it by, like that's like remdesivir, where they were selling remdesivir during the COVID crisis. Remdesivir is fucking horrible.
What is that? I don't know that one.
Kidney failure. They stopped prescribing it.
Oh, no, I remember that one.
Fauci was selling it to everybody. You need to take remdesivir, and everybody was dying.
That's your impersonation.
Horrible kidney failure. Yeah, that fucking creep. Read that book, The Real Anthony Fauci by RFK Jr. It's a crazy book.
Yeah, I have Seth, my buddy Seth was reading that book when we were out moose hunting, but I haven't read it.
That book will change your opinion on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That's a crazy book. And if it's not true, he would be sued. They would have sued the shit out of him.
You get a cease and desist.
Yeah. Well, it's all documented. It's all backed up by like rock solid information. It's all like very well documented. What actually happened during the AIDS crisis, what actually happened during the COVID crisis. It's all legitimate. It's all easy to research. It's just scary that these people that you don't want to have to think about that stuff all the time. You want to just live your life and trust in these. Oh, this is the medical institution. They're here to help us. They're here to make us feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, a lot of them are just there to make money.
But I held that sentiment.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Till 4 years ago.
a lot changed, dude.
I'm fucking super skeptical now.
Yeah,
I'm also
changed.
super skeptical of the herd mindset that people fall into, whenever there's some sort of a pandemic, when there's a high level of anxiety, a lot of people fall into this herd mindset.
Yeah.
And that scares the shit out of me too, because there's just a lot of people that are cowards, and they're afraid of public humiliation, public criticism. They're afraid of getting ostracized from the community if they don't follow suit like everybody else is doing. And so then they start to try to enforce it on everybody else. It's like the people that were yelling at everybody else. Where's your mask?
Yeah.
Put your mask on. Like, there's people. I went to a restaurant the other night. The fucking guy served me had a mask on. I'm like, I would fire this guy. I would not. Like, you can't. This is nonsense. You can't be wearing a fucking mask. This is crazy.
I read an op-ed in the Free Press the other day. Barry Weiss's publication. And it was about when they had rolled back. Masking laws. I kind of forgot all about this. Like, you used to not be able to run around with a mask on.
Yeah.
Because of like criminal activity.
Yeah.
So one of these dudes that pushed a person in front of a subway. It must have been premeditated to some degree because hood and mask, right?
Yeah.
So you can't identify him on security footage.
Right.
And then the dude that shot that healthcare insurance CEO, like masked, but you don't think anything of it.
Right.
So this person was arguing in some capacity. They were arguing that we need to move back to anti-masking rules.
Yeah.
To fight crime, which I get the sentiment, but I also thought, like, if you had at a time prior to the pandemic, if you had told me that there was restrictions on wearing a mask, I would have been surprised about that, because it seems like, how can you dictate to someone that you have a little stagecoach robber bandana on your face?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like a weird thing. It's like, can you really tell people that they can't wear a mask? But this person's saying you could, we did, and now you've granted like criminals some level of anonymity by that you can just kind of like, you're cool just to walk around totally obscured.
Well, it's also you're dealing with people that have severe anxiety if they think that mask is actually going to protect them. It doesn't do jack shit.
Sure.
Especially if you're wearing the bandana. The bandana is just ridiculous.
Sure, but I'm not. But I'm not looking to have a rational argument with them. It's just like surprise, like something I hadn't considered, that you could make a law telling people about wearing masks or not.
Yeah.
I just forgot all about that shit because you just didn't. But it would be if you went back 6 years ago and you saw a dude with a mask and a hood on.
Yeah.
You might be like, the hell's his problem?
Yeah.
Now you're like, oh, he's real scared of COVID.
Real scared, still to this day. I mean, someone sent me a video of this guy who wears a mask every day, and he's been pushing for masking. He's like severely mentally ill.
Yeah, well, that is
overrun with anxiety. Just like advocating for masking. We should all be masking and double masking. And
if you had a mask on and a hood on all the time, you wouldn't be just 10% less famous. You'd be 70% less famous.
I got spotted a lot when I had a mask on.
With your mask on?
Yeah, with a mask on. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm short and wide. I have an odd shape.
Yeah.
I think people look at that Joe.
That burly little man.
Little fucking chimpanzee looking dude.
Bald head.
Yeah.
All muscly.
I wear a baseball hat, sunglasses, mask, and they're like, is that Joe Rogan? even without like seeing my tattoos, like I just was getting busted. You
know what it might be? Because you are known sitting in that seat in that posture, and so maybe when you're in the airport, you should try a different. You should try a different pose. Lean back. Cause they might be just picking you off by your seating position.
I don't know. I was just walking down the street. I was getting called out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was getting, with sunglasses on and a baseball hat.
Yeah. You'd be 10% less famous.
Yeah. That's too late. That fucking chicken is flying the coop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's over.
No one doing it now.
I think you should stop masking. I think it should be illegal. I think it's ridiculous. In New York, they made it so that if you go into a store, you have to pull your mask down so that the facial recognition will work.
Really?
Yeah, because they were getting so many people getting robbed. So many stores are getting robbed, and you could never catch them.
Oh, so there is a movement back to that.
I think it was the mayor was like proposing that. But they should just make it illegal to wear a fucking mask. You're a psychopath. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it's not protecting you. So what are we doing? You're just covering your face. Well, you can't cover your face because we live in polite society. We want to make sure that people can't commit crimes wearing a fucking bank robber mask.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
It a little bit, you being you being a very libertarian dude. I don't know if you describe yourself that way.
Pretty much, yeah.
I view, like, I'm a little surprised. I remember you were having a conversation with J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance made a comment about, just not a serious comment, but made a comment like, dudes shouldn't wear skirts or some shit like that. And you're like, they should totally be able to wear skirts.
Yeah.
Women get to wear them. Why can't men? It was all said with levity.
Yeah.
But I was a little surprised. Like, I could picture you as well. Really feeling like, how could you legislate
It's a public safety thing.
obscuring your face?
Yeah. Well,
And
we
in a
identify
skirt, there's no
people
public. There's
for
no public
crimes.
safety
Yeah.
in skirts.
The guys get weird knees. I recognize those knees anywhere. No, I mean, skirts is just a choice. I mean, if you wear shorts, why can't you wear skirts? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just
No,
wear-
I get it. It's public. Yeah.
If a guy wants to
public
wear a
safety
dress,
sentiment.
what do I give a shit? If a woman wants to wear a business suit, am I mad at Ellen for wearing a business suit? Am I going to be pissed off at Hannah Gadsby for dressing up like a man? Like, come on. You should be able to wear whatever you want to wear. I don't care about that, but I care about public safety. Like, you shouldn't be able to cover your face where you can't be identified if you commit a crime. We've all agreed to that. Like, that's just ridiculous. It used to be a thing that you couldn't do. You couldn't walk into a store with a bank robber mask on. It used to be if you walked into a bank with a mask on, people would freak out. And now, during the pandemic,
They'd probably start shooting at you.
Yeah. You walk into a bank without a mask, people get angry. Put your mask on. It's like we lost our mind. But the thing is, they should have realized it very early on that there's no science to it. And there was a doctor who pointed this out very early on in the pandemic, and we highlighted it, and people were very upset at us. This doctor was talking, he was a virologist, and he was saying, do you know how ridiculous this is? Let me show you.
Yeah.
And he used a vape. So he took a big hit of a vape, he put a mask on, and he blew vape smoke through. And he's like, the particles in vape are so much larger than these virus particles. If you're breathing through this mask, if this mask allows you to take in air, you're taking in the virus. If it allows you to blow out air, you're blowing out the virus. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This is just stupid. This is just pretending. And in the beginning, I was like, okay, everybody just wants you to be a good person. You wear the mask. But it's so weird because during the crisis, we did UFC fights. And the UFC fights, the cornermen used to have to wear masks. So, like, I'll see, like, highlights from, like, 2021, and you see, like, the cornerman with the mask. Like, God, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. And their nose is hanging out. It's like the whole thing. Cover your nose. Oh, yeah, okay. Like, as if it mattered. Like, okay, this really works. And you couldn't walk into a store like this. People go, that's not good enough. This is not good enough. Oh, I forgot my mask.
Sure.
What do you want me to do? This is the same goddamn thing. Like, what are we doing? Can I just buy toothpaste like this? No, you can't. You have to have an actual mask. Well, what is the difference between this and a fucking bandana? Zero. There's no difference. It's so stupid.
I went through 2 years of, like, needing to yell at my kids all the time because if you travel with your kids and they never got the stupid things on, you're like, but then you're not even yelling at them about if they're going to prevent them from. You're not saving them from a disease. You're saving them from being ostracized or yelled at by the flight attendants.
Yes.
So you spend 2 years being like, put your damn mask on. Put your mask on. I don't think it works. Like, it's not about whether it works. You just got to do it to not get in trouble.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my kids. I'm like, this does not work. Just want you to know. It's not going to make you safer. It's not going to. They both had COVID early on.
Yeah.
They got over it quick. So they weren't nervous about COVID at all. I go, this is just for other crazy people that are riddled with anxiety.
Yeah.
You put this on, they feel okay. It's not going to be forever. It's going to be, and we're going to look back on this, and we're all going to laugh. And that's like every now and then I'll go through like my closet and I'll put a jacket on that I haven't worn forever, and I reach into a pocket and I pull out a fucking stupid surgical mask.
Sure.
I'm like, Jesus Christ. I can't believe we went through this.
Yeah, we've kind of found them all and got rid of them. But I wouldn't be surprised there's one hiding somewhere.
It was one of the things that Sanjay Gupta brought up when I did that podcast with him. Like, you sell masks on your website. I go, what? You think I sell them because they're real? I sell them because people have to wear them. So if you want to wear them, wear a little JRE mask. Like, I don't sell them because I think they're good.
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. I wish they were illegal to sell. How about that? I don't want. What would I make, $1 off those fucking masks?
You'd forego the profits.
I would pay to have them illegal. I'll give the government $10,000 a year to make masks illegal. Fuck you. You guys are fucking crazy. The whole thing was crazy. It was really weird. It was like a psychology experiment on the whole. It was a good experiment to see like how many people around you are bitches who would just fall in line the moment things got weird.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. There's a lot of people just have no ability to tolerate any discomfort, any weirdness, any uncertainty, any anxiety. They just immediately there's so many people out there that have always had parents and then bosses and then supervisors and people. They were always following rules, and assuming somebody has your best interest in mind. And they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. There's just humans. Just a bunch of humans out there and a bunch of people that don't want to take responsibility for this fuck up that they've created. And they want to lie and distort things and gaslight the whole population. And then somehow or another, these people that are doing that are allowed to spend hundreds of millions and billions of dollars on advertising and on television. And so now the television networks will never criticize them because they get all this this is like the argument about advertising for pharmaceutical drugs. We're the only country other than New Zealand in the whole world that allows pharmaceutical drugs to advertise.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's just us in New Zealand. And New Zealand's far more restricted than us. But the way our system is set up, all these television networks, CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, they all rely on a giant percentage of their advertising budget comes from pharmaceutical drugs.
And don't you just love those ads?
But it's not. Here's the thing. It's not to sell more drugs. It's so that those people will never criticize those drugs.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the argument. Yeah.
Yeah, the ads are great.
It's like it'll always be some dude just kicking ass.
Yeah, having a great time.
Wakes up, jogs with his buddies, kicks
Screaming
ass all day.
friends.
At night he's out with his lady, and he's getting ready, and it kind of ends at the end of the night. You're like, that's some bitch getting lucky,
Yeah.
And it's like, ask your doctor if such and such. You're like, shit, I want to kick ass like that old guy.
And then they read off the side effects. The side effects at the end: suicidal thoughts, powerful diarrhea. Oh God. Anal bleeding. Yeah. Oh, Christ. We live in a weird world, man. It's a weird world. It's a world. Whenever you involve money in things, money, profit, and the ability to lie, you get a lot of real shady things.
What frustrates me already is it's going to be impossible to explain it. Like now I can't. It's very hard to explain the 9/11 terror attacks to my kids. And I want to be, when they make, in 10 years, 20 years, whatever, when they make a docu-series on the COVID-19 pandemic and the social response and the government response, I really want to be in the room on the edit. I'm like, don't forget about, the telling of how it happened.
Yeah.
I would like to go into a time machine and go forward and see how it is told later.
Yeah.
We'll watch now, we'll watch a documentary now, you watch something about the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? But you can just picture dudes that were active during the Cuban Missile Crisis are like, no. Right?
Right.
They're going to be, there's even a term, it's called, gel syndrome. Maybe Jamie can look it up for us.
What's the term about?
It's the alpha. No, not alpha gel syndrome.
Alpha gal is the.
No, it's not alpha gal. It's something gel. The syndrome is this, or no, amnesia. Something gel. Type in gel amnesia, if you don't mind. It's killing me. Gel man amnesia. It's that. Let's say you're seeing something you have a lot of subject matter expertise in. Okay, so let's say you, Joe, are reading someone's analysis explaining here's what's up with mixed martial arts. Okay, an outside journalist who's assigned to do a piece, and they do a piece what's up with mixed martial arts.
Right.
And you read it, and what's probably the main thing you're going to be thinking the whole time?
Does this guy know what he's talking about?
Yeah, you're gonna be like, that's totally not.
Right.
That's
yeah.
not the conversation.
Right. Right.
That's not what that is.
Right.
You missed the point. Like, do you notice that everything you read where you know a lot about it, let's say you read a piece of reporting and it's a reporting about the podcast industry.
Right.
Where it came from, how it's monetized.
Yeah.
Mostly what you're gonna feel is that's not what that is.
Right.
That's incorrect.
Right.
Well, this form of amnesia is that you forget that. So then later you're reading an article about a thing you don't know well.
Right.
And you're like, you feel like you're getting the straight dope.
Right.
But someone somewhere who knows the world well is reading it, and they're having the same feeling you have every time you read about something you know well, which is this person has no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
So you fall in the trap, the amnesias you forget. And you take things you're not aware of, and when you get the dope on them from someone, you're forgetting how fucked up everything is when you do know about it.
Well, the hope is that with AI in these large language models is that AI will be able to distribute information objectively without that. And that is the case in a lot of situations where they haven't been corrected yet. Like AI is subject to human influence, obviously. Like I'm sure you're aware of the Google Gemini situation.
Yeah.
The Google Gemini situation is the best one because they said, create images of Nazis, and they had multicultural Nazis. Right?
Yeah.
But if it has to analyze information about specific things just based on just what's actually available, oftentimes it will give you a very accurate assessment that you wouldn't get from a newspaper, because the newspaper would be more interested in adhering to whatever particular ideology they subscribe to.
Yeah.
So they would flavor things through an ideology and probably gaslight you a little bit about the other side's perspective.
Yeah.
The hope is in the future with large language models, and especially as they become more and more sophisticated, you're going to be able to get an accurate, objective assessment of things that doesn't have any human influence.
Oh, man, I don't.
Boys,
Come on.
Isn't it possible?
anything else?
It's possible with some
the
things.
hope or it's possible.
Let's be real, it's boys.
I don't have it. Like,
There's my steak
sure,
and potato.
I don't picture that being the case.
Looks pretty good.
Well, there are some large language models that aren't fucked with, especially open source ones. The problem is they're essentially drawing from the entire internet, right? So you would have to assess like where these large language models are getting their information from.
Sure.
All right, guys, I'm gonna shut down the stream. Are you still there, Bryden? Good chance. I'll give you a sec.